Um, so I'm with Kate Gordon. She is a two-time CrossFit Games athlete. And I know that you went in 15 and 19, which
Mhm.
were two very different CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
So what was it like, the comparison between California and Wisconsin?
I mean, I really liked being in Madison. Madison is such a cool place. So I enjoyed the kind of, I guess it's the part beyond just the competition. It's like when you're in Madison, it's really small. Everyone's staying really close together. Everyone's eating at the same restaurants, and you're just seeing everybody everywhere. It's like CrossFitville. So I really like that aspect where it's like you can really feel the sense of community when you're in Madison. I mean, I loved Carson. Carson is where it began, especially for me. It was somewhere that I'd spectated, I judged, and then eventually competed. So that was a really amazing experience. So I feel like that stadium, that what's it called now? It's called the StubHub right now. I think it went through a
Yeah.
couple of different name changes, but
Yeah.
that always has a special place in my heart, especially when you see like the old videos of the CrossFit Games in the tennis stadium. So both very different. In terms of climate, I thought that Madison might be cooler because I remember like being in Carson, it was hot. It was just, it was just almost unbearable. But Madison was just as hot.
Yeah.
It was just as warm. So yeah, I think the setup at Madison was a little bit I think the venue's probably better for the games in terms of just the way that they've got the whole thing laid out. I really liked the layout. It's just both places had so many cool things to them, but I think the way that they're going in the direction that they're going with the venue and with the whole town, like it's getting better and better. So I think the shift to Madison was a really good call.
Yeah. I worked the 17 games.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you talk about climate because on Thursday it snowed that year at the games, and on Sunday it was like 90 degrees.
That's insane.
So, and
That's crazy.
it was the year they had to go over the straw
Yeah.
hurdles. And so
Yeah.
my job was building those.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
lot of fun.
That's
Yeah.
a good job.
Yeah, we started with the O course and then ended with the haystack. So yeah, it was
Man, wow.
crazy. So you grew up in New Zealand,
Hmm.
and you ended up going to college in California, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I was at UC Irvine.
And you studied film.
Hmm.
So I know that with CrossFit, you've become part of the L1 seminar staff, as well as you're a prominent coach now. Do you use video or film or anything in your coaching?
Outside of Instagram, no, not at all. I really
Okay.
put my degree to work. No, I really, I mean, I went to school and I just studied what I loved, and I was doing like performing arts and dance. That was what I was into out of high school. And then I just kind of wound up with the film degree. So yeah, there was never any particular drive towards my career that I vision as this, and this is what I'm going to study. It was, I really love doing this right now, so I'm going to follow that path. And then eventually what I really loved doing was CrossFit. So I just kind of followed that path.
So how did you end up on seminar staff?
So my process was through an application online, and then starting the internship process that they have. So basically interning was me being on 4 different seminars, so traveling for 4 weekends and basically acting like I was a member of staff and hoping they would like me. But it initially starts with you observe and you just kind of learn, and it's almost like taking your level 1 again. And then you start to coach little segments throughout the seminar, and they can observe your skills as a coach, observe what you're like in the dynamics of the team, and what you're like as a person. And then you'll get a lot of feedback, and then it's about whether or not you can implement the feedback and whether or not you have the ability to take on board feedback and make change to what you're doing and kind of upskill.
So what all certificates or certifications do you teach?
So I teach on the level 1 and level 2 certificate course. And then the level 3 is obviously an exam. And the level 4, again, is a practical exam, which I don't think it's been released yet in America. It's meant to be on its way, but I'm not part of that at this point, at least.
And you hold a level 3, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the difference between a 1 and a 2? Because I've been a level 1 for just about 5 years, and it's due to expire this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just signed up for my level 2.
Yeah.
And so what am I getting into?
Well, prepare to get given feedback in the same way that, like I was just saying, when I was interning, we have people watching us, and we have to be willing to hear critical feedback and actually try and change what we're doing and be open to trying it a different way. And that's kind of the whole idea of the level 2. Well, a lot of the drills that we do are based around, you've developed some skills as a coach. You've been coaching for 5 years. Some people have been doing it a little bit less. Some people have been doing a little bit more. So you kind of bring in what you've got and what you know, and hopefully we can top up that knowledge and give you some new tools and some new ideas and give you some feedback that's not only relevant to you and where you are, but it's also relevant to where CrossFit is on the whole. It's kind of like you get to get the information straight from the horse's mouth, which is nice because, you know, you do your level 1, and like you said, you've been away for 5 years doing your own thing. So it's nice to kind of come back and regather and just hear the information again. The level 2 will revisit a lot of the themes from the level 1, but really dive into the coaching element of it. So it really, like the seeing and correcting that you would have learned a little bit about in the level 1, we really hone in on that stuff as far as a skill as a coach goes, and trying to upskill you. So lots of drills around just basic things with watching foundational movements, and then cueing foundational movements, and then doing some one-on-one stuff, and then doing group coaching stuff. So it's a lot of like, just, it's actually very interactive, which is really cool.
And so you seem to be really into coaching. I just started following your email a couple months ago, where you give your opinions on different things that are going on in CrossFit, or give like a monthly challenge, things like that. So one, I want to encourage people to subscribe to that email, because it's really good and really enjoyable. Yeah. 2 months ago, you actually talked about why we should affiliate and not drop the affiliation. And I loved, that's what got me hooked.
Yes,
and then
it was an aggressive email.
And so can we talk about that a little bit, since I brought it up, is, you know, you felt strongly about why you should not drop your affiliation.
I'd been writing that email, and I had never intended it to be an email. It was something that I was going to post on social media. I've been writing that for probably 6 or 7 months now. So that has been something that I've been thinking about and thinking through and thinking over. And it's been in conversation with a lot of people that I'm around and a lot of people that I work with. And I've been having conversations in seminars with people that are opening up gyms that are not going to be affiliates, with people that have had affiliates that have de-affiliated. So over the past, I mean, the course of probably 2 years, like, this conversation has been something that I've been having with a lot of people. And I've just slowly gathered my thoughts around it. And that email was something that was definitely opinionated and strong and very forward in what I said. And it is just my opinion. Like, I had a lot of backlash, and it was like, well, you can absolutely have your opinion, but you're not going to change mine. Like, that's where I stand on it. And I think the thing that gets me the most is that the people that have learned everything that they've learned from CrossFit, as I have, everything that I know about what I do and everything that I put out and all the information and all the concepts and all the methodologies that I use were taught to me through CrossFit. And it was such an incredible resource, and it facilitated my development and my progress as not just a coach or athlete, but as a person. And I feel that that is a debt that I owe to CrossFit. And part of me being able to pay it forward is to one day have my own affiliate, and to hopefully see other people also running their affiliates and staying true to the CrossFit thing, and not just as a brand, but I guess as a community. Like, you know, we are all in this together, and when I see people departing and diverging away from CrossFit, I think that it comes from a couple of places. One, they don't feel like they're part of CrossFit anymore, and they feel like they're alienated, or they feel like they're not getting what they used to get. or they feel like they can do things better and they can do things differently and they can improve and they can run their own show, and it's going to be a different thing, but it's actually just CrossFit. It's just a different version of it. It's not a unique. So it certainly frustrates me when people are like, well, we're going to be like CrossFit, but it's not CrossFit. And I'm like, well, actually, you're just using CrossFit. Like, to pay your dues. It doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't give credit where credit's due. But I got a lot of backlash from that. Some productive conversations came out of it, where I spoke to some affiliate owners and some past affiliate owners. And then I had a lot of really, really negative, just like, unproductive conversations that were like, it wasn't helping anybody. It wasn't a conversation that was actually, anyone could learn from. But it's definitely interesting to talk to people that are still running affiliates that kind of gave me some of their perspective in terms of like, hey, the games have changed and that doesn't affect us. But I think a lot of the stuff around like some of the social media affected a lot of the affiliates in a way that perhaps I hadn't realized before, which was kind of an interesting perspective, especially in terms of like one of the trainers that I spoke to, one of the affiliate owners, was like, hey, what we want is more affiliate support in terms of on social media, they're encouraging people to work out at home. Why are they not encouraging people to work out at affiliates? They used to send us Christmas cards. They're not sending us Christmas cards anymore. So there's just a few things that like, I think people feel discouraged by. But if you get back to the heart of it and you get back to the goal of what it is that we're doing, it's to make people healthier and fitter and to, give people an opportunity to improve their lives. And it's also about the community. And I think if you've improved your life through CrossFit and all the changes that you've made have been because of CrossFit, then surely the best opportunity you could give somebody else is to have that same experience. I don't think that there's an alternative to CrossFit that's better. I just don't. So, yeah.
So I have a unique perspective about that. I walked into a CrossFit box at over 500 pounds. Mm-hmm. And so I got down to 265, and I owe that to CrossFit. And
yeah.
So I loved what you said about, did we forget about what CrossFit gave us? Mm-hmm. And they gave us a lot. There's still a lot of resource material out there. There's a lot of things for us to go grab. And they gave us a methodology that works for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think that from my perspective, what you said was spot on. And I do see what the other people are saying now that you say that with social media and things like that. So I can be open-minded about that. But I do think that, I think there was a point in there where he said, if you're afraid to explain why it's safe by just dropping the CrossFit because people are intimidated by that name, then we're not doing our job as coaches and affiliate owners to explain what that is. And I love that part. So thank you for putting that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if people want to get your email, how do they do that?
Well, actually, I've made it more difficult to get it because I used to have the link in my bio on my Instagram, but I have taken that down. And I essentially, every day that I send out an email, I put it up in my story so that people can sign up for it through my story. So it's posted multiple times a week just through my story, where you can get the link straight through Instagram. So if you're following me on Instagram, you can get my email. But at some point I might put the link back up, but at the moment it's just not in my bio. So you'll see it in my story though.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I found it and got it because it's really good and I really like it. So I also want to talk about you moving into competition. So you competed in 15 with the games, and then last year you were with the Exterminators, kind of a super team, a lot of big names on that team. What was that experience like?
It was completely amazing. I was not originally on the team. So before the sanctioned event in Australia, it was another athlete called Caitlin Vanzel, who's another Australian athlete. And she competed as an individual last year and is going to be competing again this year as an individual. So she was committed to the team prior to qualifying last year. And then once the Open had wrapped up and she'd gotten a qualifying spot, she eventually pulled out of the team. Maybe a month or so out from the sanctioned event. So it was pretty close to the sanctioned event, but she just wasn't in it. So Rob and I had been training together. I'd been following his programming, and he'd been coaching me for about 18 months prior to that. And I just moved to Melbourne to continue training with him 6 months prior to that. And then he kind of just reached out to me and was like, hey, if you want a spot, like, please join our team. Otherwise, I'm just going to coach. We're going to pull the team out. Like, we're not going to compete. And I actually originally said no because I was planning on competing as an individual, and that was my goal. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to shift into individual competition, and I was in a really good place for it, and I'd been feeling really good at training and been on point. And I ended up reaching out to one of my other mentors to be like, hey, hypothetically speaking, if Rob Forte and James Newbury and Maddie Sturt asked you to be on their team, what would you do? He was like, this is what hooked me. This is what got me. He was like, people would pay to be on that team. You're an idiot if you don't join that team. So the next day I spoke to Rob and told him that I would definitely take the spot. And the sanctioned event was phenomenal. It was amazing. Competing with that group of Australian athletes was just awesome. And then from that sanctioned event, Maddie Sturt and James Newbury were going as individuals to the games. So we had to create a roster that gave us our 2 alternates, because what would happen is Maddie and James wouldn't be on the team. So I was coaching Danny Horan through the method on nutrition stuff. And so she had actually kind of asked me about it, and we'd sort of not had any other female athletes in Australia that were available to compete, and it was kind of perfect. So we had her jump on board, and then we had Zeke Grove, who's another Australian Games athlete, jump on board, and we just kind of wound up with another super team that was a completely different super team, but another awesome team. We had Zeke come out and train for like 1 weekend before the games, and then Danny and Zeke and the whole team, Rob and I, got together for we had, I think, 1 or 2 workouts before the actual game started, and then it was go time. So it was an experience in terms of we had to kind of work on the fly with each other and just kind of make it happen, and it was a lot of fun. We from the beginning said that we would be focused on having fun. Like, that was the goal. We just wanted to go in, and I actually hopped on a phone call with Danny and Rob, and it was right off the bat, before we'd even committed to the team that we were on, Rob was like, we just want to go in and have a really good time. We just want to have fun. That's our goal. So while they're all very competitive, it was still very much like, hey, this is an experience and we're just going to make the most of it. So yeah, it was an amazing weekend.
Because of the way you performed the team, did it make the synchro stuff a lot harder just because you didn't have time together with the communication?
Yes and no. I think, sometimes when you don't have time to prepare, it means that you just have to cut through a lot of discussion and a lot of talking and a lot of back and forth, and decisions just have to be made. So something that Rob is really good at is he's really good at communicating, and he was our lead for the team the whole way through, from sanctionals with the other guys to the games team. So he made a lot of the calls and made it very, very clear for us what we were doing. So there was really no lack of understanding each other. The communication was very straightforward, and we had everything that we needed to make it happen. So yes, maybe a little bit more training together would have been really nice to have, but I don't think that we were at a disadvantage in terms of synchro and communicating. Like, we communicated really well, and we had a good team leader, and that's kind of what made it.
Well, Rob is kind of like the OG of OGs. He's been around a long time, and I loved watching him in the invitationals and through the games, because I've been around CrossFit since like 2011. And so
that's awesome.
So he's been around a long time, and love Rob Forte. So if he would ask me, I would jump at the chance of being on a team with him. So one more games question, and then we'll get into some other stuff. So the way the changes came down, you've been around CrossFit a long time as well. Mm-hmm. So what did you think the effect was to the games and the sanctionals? Do you like it better now with all the sanctional events and the opportunities available, or the old way with the regional?
It's funny. I think a lot of people got really upset about it, but I really I had no emotional response to it. It did not change what I did in the gym every day. because my only goal is to be the best that I could be and to better myself every time that I show up in the gym and do a training session. So regardless of what the competition was, it didn't really matter for me. So I think a lot of the changes were, they were, I felt unaffected by them. The competitions were still there. So no, it's not called regionals anymore, but they're still there. And if they give the community opportunity to put on events and to, make something of themselves and create businesses and create money and profit from these events, like that's really awesome for the community. I really like the changes, and I like the format, and I like that there's more opportunities to compete than ever before now. The only thing that I find really difficult is all the online qualifiers. That is probably the main thing for me, that I'm like, man, there are so many online qualifiers now. So it was nice to see last year a lot of those sanctioned events using the Open, which was such a great idea that came from the Down Under CrossFit Championship, because he was the only one the year prior to use the Open. And it was like, it's brilliant. It's so obvious. So that was really cool that a lot more people are doing that now. Other than that, I really like the changes in terms of sanctionals. And then I also really like the eliminations in the games. I think it's really, really cool. And I think this year you're going to see it improve even more.
Yeah, we've talked on this podcast with my co-hosts, who are both out of town this weekend, but that we love the eliminations up until that last one. It just seemed to happen a little too early.
I think they need to spread it out a little bit differently and just time it right. So I think that's what they're going to figure out this year, hopefully.
Yeah. And so are you going to compete this year on a team individually?
I'm doing the both Australian sanctioned events individually. So if I were to get a game spot, of course I'd take it. But I don't think that's this year is the year. So it's just going to be a couple of sanctioned events and then just regular training for me.
Cool. And so I just want to finish up with kind of your fun Instagram. And that is the CrossFitter with sign. I have to say that when I see that every day, it is everything I think as a coach, and I'm not allowed to say out loud. Yeah. And I love it. I love it. So how did you get started with that?
Do you know what? I mean, everyone's been seeing the sign posts, right? Like it's just been something that's been floating up and popping up on the socials. And I'd seen dude with sign, and I don't know. It just kind of was like one morning I was like, this is a joke and I'm just going to take it a little bit too far. So I did the very first sign, and it was a post that I put up on my Instagram. And I essentially from that was like, I'm just going to see if this handle is available. And if it is, maybe I'll just take it and do some more posts. And it was, so I just kind of took it and then kind of just ran with it. And then I started my Instagram in 2014 or something. I've spent 6 years and I'm just about at 20,000. In about a month, that damn page has almost got the same number of followers. I'm like, really? Come on. Damn it. I'm just writing on cardboard, people. So, it was a joke. I ran with it and I made a handle that was kind of stupid. And I was a little bit like, oh, this is dumb. But yeah, I get to write stuff and say things that I never normally say, that usually has to be far more PC. And it's very blunt, and it's very much about all the annoying things that happen as a coach or even as a member or as a CrossFitter. So it's just some lighthearted stuff. So it's good.
Well, I love it because it is everything that you want to say as a coach at times. My two favorites are you've got bigger problems than the music.
Yes, I have to shout out what is his name? He used to run a CrossFit affiliate in LA, and it was every time you walked into the gym, they had a list of gym guidelines, and one of them was you've got bigger problems in the music. So as soon as they started writing the signs, I was like, I have to make that a sign. I've remembered that for about 6 years. It was just the best way to encapsulate the whole thing about people complaining about the music.
Yeah, and then my second favorite is all the gear and your squat's still shitty.
Yep.
Those two are really good. But so I love it. And I can see how that just took off. It's just one of those things that speaks to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know
and
at our
nice.
gym,
I get to be the funny person for once. It's really good.
Yeah. And so, we talk about it all the time as coaches at our gym, and pass them around as soon as you put them out. So
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're between classes and everything going on there. But I want to thank you for being my first international guest.
Yes, absolutely. You set it up so well. This was so seamless. I was the one who mucked it up.
Yeah, it went really well. This is the first time I've used Zoom, and so it went awesome. But thank you so much. And
yes, thank you.
You're available. You have at CrossFit Kate or CF Kate.
Yes, at CF
they can
Kate.
follow you at on Instagram, and then of course at CrossFitter with sign for the funny page. To follow you. And then if you want to follow the email, you got to watch your story and see when it gets posted. So Kate, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with the sanctionals. You have one coming up like next weekend, right?
Yeah, I leave in 2 days. So it's coming up real soon.
All right. Well, we'll be rooting for you. Hope you do well.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Cool. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'll probably put this out the end of this week, probably into your when you're going into your sanctional.
Yes. Okay, cool. No stress. Lovely.
And so I'll send you a note just that I put it out there and just
cool. Yeah, perfect. And I can link it up. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, you have a great week.
All right.
Yeah, you too. Bye.